Welcome to the podcast. I am so happy you're with me today. With me again is wonderful trainer, Eve Molzhon. Welcome, Eve.
Hello. It's a nice, sunny, warm June, isn't it?
It sure is. And that brings us to a few of the topics that we're going to talk about today. This wonderful warm weather, summertime with the dogs. And I want to give a little update on Violet and the training tips that you've given. They work wonderful. And it's as of course you obviously do know it's a work in progress with her. It took her 3 years to become who she was, be a little barky, but the walks are going so much better. I'm constantly working on the find it. I think that's very, very helpful. And they only lose it every now and then on the walk, which
Yep.
is totally
And
typical.
it's practice, it's
Yeah,
practice. And the reality is too, right? Like we can't say that we never lose our cool
for
and
sure.
we never go over the top. So, to
Yeah.
set realistic expectations of your pup.
And so there was that huge improvement in the beginning. And now we're just working on making it second nature, I feel like.
Absolutely. Yep. And we tell people that all the time. We always start out training in a quiet, closed environment, and then we start adding in all of those
Mhm.
distraction pieces. And then we go into the okay, let's walk outside of the dog park and see if you can hold it
Yeah.
together. And yeah, it is. It's leaning up to it, and then creating that thought pattern of okay, I see another dog, I turn and look to my mom, or I turn and look at the ground, and life goes on, and good things happen.
Yeah, and one of those distractions we added was one in the house. I think it was 2 episodes ago that I told you we adopted the kitten. We adopted Elsie, and she's a great addition to the house. Millie, of course, as I told you, it was love at the beginning, and it's been love since then. And Millie's pretty good about giving the kitten her boundaries. She gives a little
Hmm.
growl, the kitten backs off, and I'm very comfortable with that. I think that's awesome. And Violet, who is the one who I'm working with the most on the training that she needs. She goes from loving the kitten, playing with the kitten to being like kind of like terrified of the kitten. And I feel like maybe that comes from some anxiety that I've seen in a lot of her behavior. And we definitely are being very safe. We keep when we're sleeping at night, they're separated by a door so
Hmm.
they cannot get near one another. The fearless kitten can't go bug Violet, who gets a little spooked, for lack of a better word.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Any tips for what may help, or is it just time?
Time is always the biggest factor, and then just ensuring that you're reading both animals' body language. So when the kitten is being overzealous and the dog is saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm a little freaked out by this energy," excusing the cat to go do something else, and then just we always say, you can reassure your pet without coddling them. So you can be like, okay, cat's gone. Hey, let's go do this, right? Give the dog then something else to move towards. So that way they're not holding on to that moment.
Yeah. That is something that I think that's gonna be what I'm working on next. I never quite thought of it like that. And those kinds of situations worked really well for Violet. The find it, the changing her thought of what she's doing in that moment works really well. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll update you on that next time. I think that's it's a little by little, it's a work in progress. Eventually I want to be able to leave the kitten out when I go out, because we do put her in the laundry room. That's kind of her room, and the
Hmm.
door is closed, and the pups are in their room where they are blocked off. And so that I know that they have that time, that downtime where they're all feeling safe. And uh, I know with cats in the past, it hasn't taken this long, but I guess every situation is different, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's really the key. And you kind of hit on that a little bit when you said, allowing each animal their own time. So when you have those scenarios where the cat's being too feisty and your dog is telling you, I'm feeling overwhelmed, the mistake most people make is they'll pick up the cat and they'll start petting it. Well, you're telling the dog that the cat rules because you've now coddled the cat, and the dog was like, I'm the one that was feeling insecure, and you're not giving me any reassurance. You're reassuring the cat because you picked it up and now you're petting it.
Yeah.
So that's where that's really important of acknowledging, okay, you're feeling uncomfortable, cat, you need to go somewhere else then. And then let's go do something else too, right? Like that you're creating a platform where everybody is equal in the animal kingdom within your home. I mean, we all know we have our favorites. We just try not to let them on. They might get a little bigger portion of the treat than the other one. But, you know, animals are visual as well as scent driven and hearing driven. So if he sees that the cat is getting all the love and affection for bad behavior, what are you
Yeah.
actually reinforcing then?
Yeah, because they do a Violet mimics behavior, she really does, and I've seen that in her, so that makes a lot of sense to me, I'm excited to work on that with her in that way.
There you go.
Uh,
Yeah. Plus, it teaches
yeah.
her that when the cat is overzealous, that it's okay to walk away. You've told the cat to walk away, and now you're telling her to walk away and go do something else. You're teaching them that when they're in that uncomfortable position, that it is okay to walk away.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that
You're
those
welcome.
tips. I appreciate it. And what we want to talk about today, I think, is very important. Summertime is on us. And summer with your dog, there's so many facets of this, but there's some really important parts of talking about summertime with your dog too.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have a French bulldog, so she is a smushed face dog and can't breathe very well. And she thinks she's a cat. So when we go outside, she goes and lays in the heat and the sun, and it takes her literally 3 minutes. And then all of a sudden, she's huffing and panting and can't catch her breath. So you need to be aware of your dog and your dog's limitations.
Hmm. Yeah.
Not every dog knows to stay out of the sun. Like she
Yeah.
goes and she lays in it, and then she starts hyperventilating. So again, we talk about this all the time. You have to be your pet's advocate. Know your dog's limitations. If you're like, oh, it's sunny and it's warm and I'm going to go for a walk twice a day, it may not be appropriate to take your dog for the walk. You and the dog both put on the COVID-15. Great. Your dog's 9 years old. It can't endure a 2-mile walk. So you need to think of the dog's physical aspects. Groomers right now, this time of year, are preaching really loud about don't shave your furry coated dog. It is not going to help them remain cooler.
Yeah.
Each dog is built differently, right? Your two dogs are built totally different.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
So one of your dogs is a longer coat.
Yeah, my Violet, she is a longer coat. We did have to get her shaved in early March because
Yes.
she mats so easily. She's a poodle mix. And so we did get her shaved. It's growing back, thank goodness, because it does grow quickly. And then, of course, there is Millie, the golden retriever with the longer hair. Never have to shave her. Give her a
Correct.
brush and she's fine. So why wouldn't I want to shave my dog?
Okay, so your poodle mix is shavable. Again, based on the breed, their hair is meant more for moisture and water containment. Poodles are kind of water dogs.
Yeah.
So shaving a poodle or a poodle mix, very appropriate. Your golden retriever hair is different, right? It's straight, it's longer, and that coat, doesn't completely hit the floor, but it hangs down at least a couple of inches. There's automatic, and I'm going to call it air pockets, that are meant to float through your golden retriever. That's why we don't shave them. We can trim them up and we can, clean up the fur, and you might cut a mat from behind the ear, but you don't shave that breed of dog unless you have a really good reason and you're really smart about what it's going to take to maintain the dog once it is shaved. Your huskies, you don't shave a husky. you don't shave a Burmese mountain dog. So there are lots of dogs that you don't shave. Now, your schnauzers, again, that's a wiry haired dog. That one is shavable. So understanding the breeds and what their coats do for them makes it a big difference. People talk about Great Pyrenees, right? They're livestock guarding dogs. They are outside. It is 100 degrees and that dog is laying outside on a dirt patch in the sun. Its coat is meant for that. And so if you were to shave that dog, it would overheat then and get heat stroke. So it's just really important to talk to a groomer and take their advice. You can still do some cute things, you know. You can leave
Yeah.
you can leave a mohawk on your dog. You can do the little ponytail, and shave down the rest. But yeah, I mean, certain dogs you do not do that to, because you are doing more damage to their coat and actually just the structure of how their body operates.
And also, with summertime comes a lot of heat and a lot more sun. And I know I went to the pool the other day and I put on my sunscreen and I got a sunburn. Can dogs get
Mhm.
sunburnt?
They absolutely can. So the tips of their noses are really, in big areas, and then the bottoms of their feet. So you wear shoes when you're walking on the sidewalk and on the asphalt. They don't. There's products like Musher's Secret and, things for their pads. And a lot of times people only think about that in the cold weather areas, right? Ice and snow. No, you need to use it in the heat too. So I have a nose balm that I
Mhm.
buy that I put on my Frenchie's nose every other day to keep that moist and not all dry and cracking. It's necessary for her. She also has goggles that she wears if we're going to be outside for a long period of time, because she's got bug eyes. So she's already had an eye ulcer,
Oh.
that we've had fixed, and so yeah, she has, funky little goggles for her, which are great. When you're thinking about, when you are out and about with your dog, obviously it's summertime. You got to be careful when you're putting clothes on the dogs.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Again, I have an adorable little Frenchie, and I have a 9-year-old who loves to put little dresses on her and all that kind of stuff. That's great, but we're not going to wear that and go for a walk outside.
Yeah. Those
Um,
extra layers just
those
add that
extra
heat.
layers.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. And even some of the body harnesses, you
Uh-huh.
know, a lot of them have padding to them. That padding can, add to holding in that heat. So it's just really important to pay attention to what you're utilizing. Always
Yeah.
carry water, always carry, right now you can get portable water dishes, put a piece, that Tupperware that you don't have a lid to, stick that in your car.
Yeah, yeah. So you
Stick
don't have
that.
to go buy anything, especially even though they have those lo
Oh,
foldable. I saw them at the hardware store even yesterday. They fold down to flat and they have a nice loop for your belt that you can carry them with. Those collapsible bowls are awesome.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you can get as decked out and color coordinated as you want,
Mhm.
or you can grab that piece of Tupperware that you don't have the lid to anymore and throw it in the trunk of your car.
Yeah, and I think just, carrying it along, some people are like, "Ah, I don't want," but it's really thoughtful for your dog and it can make them it allows them to be able to be with you if they're in the type of a shape that can go with you. I know when you
Uh,
get to the mountains, yeah, it's a few degrees cooler and there might be some shade, so that might make it easier, but, it's still important to think of what the heat's gonna do to your dog. I've never put on the no sunscreen. I'm gonna have to get that. Is there a particular type that's made just for dogs?
Yes, Google it. There's
Yeah?
lots of different brands, but yeah, no, there is, there is. I buy hers from, the Frenchie company, so it's specific to her breed. The company is, but yeah, nope, nope. There's lots of different brands out there, and it's usually got some beeswax in it and, some good oils in there. She tries to lick it, of course. So usually
Uh-huh.
I put it on her
Uh-huh.
and then I give her her dental bone for bedtime. So that way
Yeah.
I know it at least stays on for a while. But you
Yeah.
brought up another good point though, heading up to the mountains. So I'm in the Midwest and we have ticks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I know, in the southern states you've got snakes, there's
Mhm.
scorpions and spiders.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're putting bug spray on you, that is not the bug spray to put on your dog. DEET is very dangerous for your dog,
Oh, yeah.
because you're spraying it on their fur.
Uh-huh.
So if you are concerned about bugs, ticks, and those types of things, even if your pet takes, the next guard or you're doing a topical or they wear a collar, if you're going to an area where there is that risk, um, then buy yourself the topical spray, flea and tick and bug spray for dogs.
Yeah.
So buy the specific for dogs and then spray that on them before you head out.
'Cause I mean, I know you don't want them coming home with you, but, the ticks can be, dangerous for a dog if they get bit.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And then the dog comes home, it curls up on the couch with you, and then they climb onto you, and now you now have ticks, right?
Yeah.
Now you're dealing with the situation. So
Yeah.
just using that topical makes it so that way they don't climb on. And that's what the topical is meant to do. It's a deterrent.
And it's mostly because I've never thought about it, but my dogs do lick each other. And if you and they lick their paws and they clean themselves
Oh,
and it's
absolutely.
so that of course the bug spray that we use for ourselves isn't good for a dog. And so another thing I was thinking about with the heat, I guess before I go on, is the goggles. I put goggles on my dog because even though they're seat belted, I can have the window down a little bit and I let them hang their head out the window,
Absolutely.
and
Yep.
so that's really important for them too, because it's I every now and then I find a little something in my dog's fur from when they had it hanging. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if that went in their eye? So it's a good thing to have those goggles on. It saves you a vet bill.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Not only if they hit something in their eye, but the their eyes are different from ours. I mean, they have more than one eyelid. I don't know if you've ever known, but they actually have the third eyelid that goes down and under. And so making sure that you're keeping the whole area moisturized, which if they have their head out the window, I mean, it's like sticking your face in front of a fan, right? After a while, you get a little dry mouth, your eyes get a little dry, same piece, right? Especially if you're doing 60 miles an hour down the highway and your dog's got their head out the window. So it dries all of that out. Now you can do just a generic saline, but overall, you just have to really, it's better to be preemptive and wear the goggles, not let them hang their head out the window, even though they think they like it. Then, like you said, paying the vet bill or having to go in because now your dog can't close his eyes, his eyes are all red, and now you've potentially created a situation.
Sure. And my dog loves to play in the water,
Mm,
loves to play in the water. And she likes to play in the water even when it's hot. There are dangers there for the dog doing too much, thinking that it's cool. What should I know about that?
so the biggest one is the blue-green algae, and you're going to see that in stagnant areas of water, mostly lakes and ponds, places people like to go kayaking because it's more stagnant, you don't have flow, so kayaking and paddleboarding. But yeah, the blue green algae is very toxic, and it could just take one gulp of that and your dog could die from it. It's full of all sorts of microbes. The other thing is, again, in these bodies of water, they're not pure water, right? It's not crystal clear water. It's not fresh off the spring, so to speak. So there are parasites in all of those. And when they're drinking that in, small quantity, large quantity, doesn't matter. They're getting parasites and bacteria into their bodies. So you'll want to do a deworming. You'll want to watch their stool. Their stool is going to tell you if they got too much of something, just like us, right? They talk about taking probiotics and having good bacteria and bad bacteria and all that kind of stuff. Same thing with the dogs. Like when they're drinking in this water, they're getting all that nastiness in there. And that's
Giardia.
super Giardia, coccidia. Yeah. So if you are doing a lot of water activities, that is one thing that you need to be really aware of, is watching their stool. And so many people, you just let your dog out, they go potty outside, they come in, you have no idea that your dog is struggling.
Because, I mean, summertime is so much fun, but there's so many dangers for our dogs that maybe we've never thought about. Either we're a new dog owner or me, I've been a dog owner for many years, and there's a number of things I've gone, oh, I didn't know that too. Y-
Absolutely. I mean, people take their dogs out on the river, right? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to take my dog on the pontoon boat. It's going to stay on the boat. It knows better. How would it know better to stay on the boat?
Yeah.
How many funny commercials or, America's Funniest Home Videos do we see where the dog just walks right off the end of the dock into the water and you see the look of bewilderment, like, oh, this isn't solid?
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
life jackets for dogs are
Mhm.
great. I have 3 for our Frenchie,
Yeah. Yeah.
because she does go out paddleboarding with us and she'll just all of a sudden go, oh, ploop, into the water she goes. Well, she's got that on
Yeah.
and it's got a handle on the top so I can just pick her up, put her back on the little paddleboard because, yeah, she has no fear. She just like, floop, I'm going to plop in.
And I see life jackets at like the pet store. Is there a standard for them, or is just any life jacket I see at the pet store fine for my dog?
Take your pet in with you because you need to make sure they fit. The sizes are different, just like with body harnesses, the sizes are different. So she wears a small in one brand and an extra small in another brand. And they're not cheap. They're
Nope.
usually between 25 and if you have a large breed dog, $85. But yeah, you take your dog in there so that way you can make sure the straps will tighten in all the right spots. So the straps go across the chest and under the belly. One of our life jackets looks like Nemo. So when she goes swimming, she looks like Nemo. And the other one is a mermaid. So she has a mermaid tail off her butt. And a shark. Oh, and we have a shark one. Yep, I almost forgot. So yeah, so we have several. They are decorative, but the functionality is the key thing. So making sure that it fits snug, because if your dog goes in the water, you don't want them to slip out of it. So just
Yeah,
like kids, right? You got to make sure it's on there and it's tight.
that it's gonna stay on because people think dogs just know how to swim. Dog
They
paddle, it's a
don't.
natural thing.
Mhm.
But maybe there's a current, maybe there's other things that you just don't see in the water or that can hamper their survival, and a life jacket will save them.
Absolutely. And so many times people, oh, we were out on the sandbar, we were out da da da, and I've lost my dog. Well, now you don't know if your dog drowned. You don't know if somebody took your dog. So yeah, it's just be smart. Don't make assumptions.
Yeah.
You wouldn't let your child just go rambling off with no protection. Don't let your dog do it either. So no, super, super important. And still watch for that heat stroke. Even though
Yeah.
they're swimming in that water, they can still get heat stroke. And when they do get heat stroke, it's they're panting and their whole body will kind of convulse. Like it almost looks like they just can't catch their breath because they can't. They're having full heat stroke. And just like with humans, cold water, not making them necessarily drink it, but you need to cool down the entire body temperature. Because remember, animals, the dogs don't sweat. So pouring
Yeah.
that cold water on their body to bring down their body temperature, getting them in the shade is super, super important.
Some ice packs, maybe, if you have them
Absolutely.
available. Um,
Absolutely. Yep.
Calling the
It's,
vet, getting them an IV of sorts.
uh,
Is that what
yep.
would be called for?
Yep. So you can call your vet. Several vets will have different, like I have a vet that has an oxygen chamber that they would put her in, they would drop the temperature in it. So yeah, so there's a lot of different things that your veterinarian has available to them. But yeah, your immediate thing would be to try and cool down the body, get a hold of your vet, and then kind of go from a plan from there. But watching how long your pet is out in the sun, whether swimming, just hanging out, going on a hike, is important to know that. And each pet is different.
Hmm.
A Weimaraner, a Brittany Spaniel, the hunting breeds that want to go, go, go. Their coats are different. Their stamina is different. How they function, their body is different than trying to take a pug out for a hike in the woods on a sunny day. So you just got to be smart about it.
And also, it doesn't take that high of a temperature to give your dog heat stroke, sunstroke, or even a sunburn. It doesn't have to be much more than 75, 70 degrees.
Yeah, they've actually found in a car 68 degrees in full sun.
Wow. Yeah, because I don't take my dog out in my car when it's over 70 degrees. And that's just kind of been my own personal cutoff because I've sat in a parked car at 70 degrees and gone, woo, it's warm. And I kind of think of
Mhm.
myself as, my own barometer for my dog, even because I can't take much heat. But, it's not us that we should be comparing ourselves to, is what's right for the pets.
Right, right. And that's exactly it. There's a lot of new technology out there that you can plug into your car that will be an air conditioner even when your car's not on. There's all sorts of um, things to attach to a crate in a car so that way your car isn't running, but yet your pet stays cool. So there are all those great technology pieces if you have to travel a lot with your pet.
Definitely, because I know that that is what police canine units use while
Correct.
their dogs are in their cars, and the windows may look up, but if it's a police canine unit, they have that technology that dog, that and for them, it's a valuable tool. It's a valuable dog. It's not just a pet for them. It's one of our public servants, the dog is. We should know that that is what was probably happening if you see a police car out with a canine in it. But if you do see a car out, now I've done a little bit of research on this, as I know you have too. A dog in a hot car, what can you do about it? And I know that this varies from community to community.
Yeah, the laws are different in every state and every, potential county and city. Number one is you call 911.
Yes.
You need to document that there is an animal in a car, windows rolled up, windows slightly cracked. If it is hot out,
Yeah.
panting,
Yeah, and 911, because those calls are recorded. You need to
correct.
protect yourself because the calls are recorded, but it is an emergency. It's somebody's dog that shouldn't have to die a horrible death. So that is the reason for that first step.
Correct. Yep. And they may tell you, we don't handle this. You need to call animal control, or you need to call a humane society, or we have an animal person that deals with this. That's fine. But it has now been documented with the make, model of the car, the license plate number, the time that you've called in, and the situation, right? So now that has been documented for anything moving forward. And then if they tell you to call animal control, great. We've all got Google on our phones, or maybe they might even provide you the number. And then you make that next step, that next phone call. Always ask them for an ETA. When do they plan to arrive? Estimated time of arrival. If they're like, oh, I'm on another call, it might be an hour. Rarely should that ever happen, but
It might.
it might. You want to ask. The second reason for calling 911, let's say the person who owns the car comes out, and now you're in the middle of a verbal confrontation and maybe it's escalating.
Yeah.
You've already called the police. They're already on their way, right? Like in this day and age, you don't know Joe from Jill
Yes.
and anybody's intentions. So
Yeah.
so call the police. If they tell you to call somebody else, make that second call. Now that you've done those two calls, now if you're in front of a Target or a Walmart, you can call into the store and say you're standing by the vehicle. The sign of distress is that the dog is not lifting its head to look at you. The dog is in a laying down position and can't get up. That dog is in full distress. If you've gone through all these three steps, which should take you less than 5 minutes to do all three of those steps, then you break the window. You get the
Because you
dog
do
on.
have to have that reasonable belief that, and it does go for people in the state of Colorado. It's not just dogs, but we are talking about dogs, that they are in imminent danger of health or serious injury. And the
Correct.
heat
Yes.
is the serious injury. What about, and then also in documenting this, you've called the police, turning on the video of your
Oh, absolutely.
camera.
If you can, while you're doing all of this, absolutely video it. And video versus picture. The reason for that is the person could say, oh, well, my dog just laid down. That's what it does. A video says, no, your dog is laying down. Look at the heavy breathing. He can't catch his breath. You can show then also in the video that you are in a parking lot, the sun is beating down, how the windows are open. All of that is in that one captured moment. So that way, then you know. If the dog can stand up, if the dog is just whining to you, that is not distress. You do not break a window for that.
Okay.
It's at the point of distress where the dog cannot effectively do anything, that they are in distress.
Is that when maybe it's gone too far? I mean, because
Eh,
I've seen this situation. I've seen it
mhm.
at the mall. It was 90 degrees out. They had the window cracked an inch, literally. I could see the dog kind of standing up, but the person who was there talking with the police, it had been more than 5-10 minutes. It was their direct son. Is there ever that situation when, yeah, the dog can stand up, but they're still in peril?
Yes, but you have a police officer there. So now
Yeah.
it is not your call. And
Yes.
that's the key. If the dog is laying down and it is full out distress, can't get itself up because it is just heaving so bad, then there is no time. And that's where you break the window. If the dog is standing up, police are on their way, they've paged the person, the dog is still stressed and could go into distress, but you have a little bit of time and some opportunity. Now, while you're standing there, police haven't arrived, you've made all these calls, and the dog all of a sudden plops over on its side, break the window. But yeah, that's really kind of the defining piece that most of the time they'll look at is, was the dog almost incapacitated?
And you've definitely shouted, "Hey, is this anybody's dog? Is this your car?"
Right. And typically by the time you're standing there, a group of people are going to start to stand there too.
Mhm.
Um, and really, it again, it really just then it comes down to, you've made the call to 911. If there was any other entity you needed to call, you've had the store page the owner of the car. So you have given opportunity here for the right thing to happen, and it hasn't happened. And the dog is head keeps bobbing down. It's drooling profusely because it just can't catch its breath and it's just trying. But yeah, if the dog is sitting up on the seat and pawing at you and kind of smiley, happy, tails a wagging, that's not distress.
Yeah, maybe they have one of those devices to keep the dog cool.
Correct. Yep. And most of the people that have one of those devices, they actually come with cards that you put in your window because your windows are going to be up. And so they have these cards that you put in your window that says air conditioning running. So that way people aren't like, oh, the windows are up and
Yeah.
but but the dog looks fine, like not panting. Well, no, because there's an air conditioning unit running within the vehicle, and it's meant to run when the vehicle is off. So it'd be rare that you would find that situation where there wouldn't be a note somewhere. And I've had people that have overridden their systems in their car. So like their car is running, windows are all the way up, the air is blowing, but the doors are locked. And they've put like just handwritten notes on their car that says air conditioning running, dog is fine.
Yeah, because there may be genuine reasons you're taking your dog out and it's a 90-degree day. We don't always know, or maybe, yeah, so there's a lot of different possibilities there, and so you do need to be certain. And so you break the window of the car. I do know that in the state of Colorado, you have to remain there with the at-risk person or the at-risk animal until the person who either owns the vehicle comes or law enforcement or a first responder arrives. Or if you cannot stay, I know this is my state only. I don't know about all the other states, but you do have to. You would have to put a note on the window, and so there's a lot that goes into this because not everybody has a piece of paper and a notepad in their purse.
Right. And that's just it. So if you break the window, you're going to remove the animal, get them into an air conditioned car, or set them in a cooler area if you can pour water on them. So if you have a blanket that you can pour the water on and then lay that over the dog, that is extremely important too. So if you break the window, if you can get the dog into an air conditioned vehicle, that's great. I just think of like the back of my SUV, lay the dog down, throw a blanket on them, pour the water on the blanket because that's going to hold the coldness more onto their fur versus you just pouring it onto their fur. Because if you just pour it onto the fur, then it's on and then it's off. To where if you
Yeah.
put a blanket on them and pour it on there, that will help significantly. And just fresh air, like put their mouth near where one of the vents are to get that fresh air in there. I know our local fire department actually has oxygen masks specific for dogs. So hopefully that's something that your area has, or what a great thing that you could do a fundraiser and donate towards that to any of your listeners that are interested in that. But that too is just, the dogs need to get the oxygen into their body, cool them off. It needs to be colder air and that type of thing. But yes, staying there is super imperative because you've got the evidence. You've videoed it, you've made the phone calls, you've got all of that documentation in your phone. So staying there would be super imperative.
Because it's not that people are bad pet parents. Sometimes they just don't know, right?
They don't think about it. They get distracted. You go into the store, oh, you run into Aunt
Yeah.
Oneida or Susie Q, your old neighbor, and you chit chat and you've lost track of time. So you thought you were running in, you left the remote start going on your car, which runs for 15 minutes, and you were actually gone for 30.
Yeah, because I know my remote start does run for 15 minutes and it does allow me to keep the air conditioning on. And in my younger days, I would have been, no, I wouldn't forget, but no, no, yeah, I definitely could forget. And my dogs love to come with me. They love to come. I hate saying no when it's warm out, but I don't know if I want to stop somewhere else. So it does happen. I think sometimes people just don't know what they just don't know. And sometimes we do get distracted. And I went to Colorado.gov to
Hmm.
find out the information regarding my state's laws. And in there, like you said, the state has a main law, but counties can have different laws, as can city. There's different ordinances, and each state has their own. They may be similar, but it's good to know that because summer is upon us and there are so many treacherous things that can happen to your dog when they're out riding with you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I own a daycare and training facility. My dogs are with me almost all the time. So I have one of those $300 fancy contraptions to run in my vehicle because I'll go from work and, oh, I got to stop and get milk and bread, da da da. I know that my remote start only lasts 15 minutes. I don't trust myself.
How do they work? I mean, does that air conditioner that works when the car engine's off, do they work really good? I've seen them advertised.
Yeah, they do. And there's lots of different ones out there. So, you got to do a little bit of research. But yeah, so the Cool Force one that I have plugs into my cigarette lighter. I have one cigarette lighter that stays hot. And so it plugs in and the little thing pops up. So like as I pull into park, I plug it in and turn it on. So then by the time I shut off my car and I get my purse and I have all my stuff and then I've got my little, got my stuff together to get out of the car, because it always takes a good 3 minutes. The unit's already running and I know that it's running.
Hmm.
And then I feel comfortable leaving. And then, yep, I have a little flag that I put on my driver's side door that just says air conditioner is running, even though car is not.
And is that on the inside or the outside? Is it so
It's
the
on the inside of the thing. So the only dilemma would be if the dog rips it off.
yeah. But if they paid attention to these signs, they would know that your
Correct.
dog is okay.
Yep. Yep. And none of the dogs are panting.
Yes.
That's the key thing. Like if you look in the windows, none of the dogs are panting. They're curled. My Frenchie will be curled up on the passenger seat in her dog bed, snoozing away. Nobody's panting because it's colder in there when I come back to my car than it was when I left my car.
Have you
Um,
ever run into somebody when you've come back to your car who didn't know or didn't
oh
read the
yes,
sign in your window?
yep, yep, and wanted to have a confrontation with me. Absolutely. So usually, I always look at it as they're having my dog's best interest. So although it's very hard to not be defensive and tell them to shut up and go away, I just go, oh no, I have this really cool thing. Let me show you. You could buy one too. They're $300. And they
Yeah,
look at me like, oh. And I'm like,
a
uh-huh.
teachable moment.
And that's just it. It is a teachable moment. And then I'm like, yep, that's why I have that sign right there. Oh, I didn't see the sign. I'm like, yep, no worries. My back windows are now tinted just to try and help with that. But yeah, I mean, at any given time, I'll have 1 to 5 dogs in my car. Or it might be I'm going to a park and I'm doing demos. So my car is off. The dogs are all in the car because it's cooler to be in there than for me to put out crates and have them sit outside. And so then I can just rotate the dogs so that I need to pull for the different demonstrations. But yeah, no, they're very popular with people that do show dogs, agility trials, anybody that has like a working dog. But the prices have become much more affordable too now. I mean, I bought mine, I think 2 years ago, and it was like the new latest and greatest thing.
Mhm.
It saved me on gas and not having to leave my car running, and jerry rigged my locks mechanism so the car could be running and I could lock it from the outside.
Because I
Um,
am one of those people who just would be distraught, confrontational, all of those emotions going through my head seeing that. And I probably wouldn't read the sign because
no,
that's what happens when you get emotional. So you probably did have to practice politely saying to people that teachable moment.
absolutely. Absolutely. I would not say that the very first time it happened, I handled it the best.
I
But
think I would definitely have to practice. There'd have to be a little script I would have to say so that I could
yeah.
not lose my head too.
Yeah. And again, these individuals, bless their hearts, they are looking at the dog's best interest. And that's, you cannot ask for anything more than that. And like you said, if it was a police car, you wouldn't think twice to walk up to it and be like, do you have the air conditioning on? And how shame on you. You should put your dogs at home. I used to live 30 minutes away from town. So it was a major inconvenience if I was at work with my dogs to take them all the way 30 minutes home and then come 30 minutes back to town to make 2 stops. So that is why I made that investment. in the units. And again, they've gotten so much more efficient and better and smaller, and more affordable. So yeah, they're great little units. I would even think you can use them when you're camping. One of them, it's a air conditioner and a cooler built into one. So, while you're keeping your dogs cool, you're keeping your soda cool.
That's a good way of looking about it. And all in all, in summertime, there are so many hazards. Are there certain supplies you would suggest people have on hand for the just in case? There's the sunscreen, there's the type of bug spray for your dog. What else? Is there anything else?
The number one thing is water in a bowl. If you get nothing else, make sure that you open up your trunk, open up where your spare tire is. There's room in there. Throw 3 or 4 water bottles in there. Now, if you live in a cold weather environment, make sure you take them out before winter or they'll explode.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, literally, a couple bottles of water and a bowl. Super, super important, because not only can you then help your dog in a situation, you can help somebody else's dog too. You can help a stray dog that you find somewhere.
And I also think it's important to say that the water doesn't need to be cold. The water can
No.
be air temperature, and that may be better, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that they
Yep.
don't have to cold water going into the body needs to be warmed up to body temperature for it to be uh taken into the body. I don't know quite how to say that right, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So it doesn't shock their system, especially if it's a dog that's overheating. Again, their body is already in distress. So keeping everything neutral is very, very, very important. But no, water by far is your best ally in these summer months for you and your pets. And there's so many cool contraptions out there now, water bottles that have a special spigot for your dog and all those things. So honestly, there's just no excuse to not have something to assist your pet in those situations. But every climate is different. Every part of the world is different globally. So just knowing what you need for your area is very important.
Yeah, because those in Florida, man, it's always over 80 degrees. It's always warm. And you get that
Absolutely.
humid summer heat and that awful bitter cold. And I get a dry heat and a dry cold, but I know that the heat is upon us already for summertime. It is early June. And any tips about summer that we haven't talked about yet?
Doggy hats are cute.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
I'm I'm not opposed to them. They're kind of cute.
Uh-huh.
If you want to bike with your dog, it's usually not a good idea that you hold the leash on the handlebar
Yeah.
and ride your bike. Like, there are special contraptions to attach the dog to your bike. My favorite one is it's a silver bar that comes out from the back
Oh yeah.
tire of
Yeah.
your bike, and then it's got a hook, and then dog is in a body harness preferably, versus just their collar, and then the bar comes out from your bike and then hooks to the dog. This does multiple things. First off, it stops the dog from ever crossing and into and underneath your bicycle, to where if you're just riding your bike and you've got a leash and the dog says squirrel, whoop, right in front
Yeah.
of you he goes, you tumble, dog takes off, like, you know now you've got a horrible situation.
Yeah.
So by keeping the dog next to you and at a safe distance, it's great. You go to turn left or right, it automatically turns the dog left or right. You're not having to try and teach the dog right, left,
Uh-huh.
and make sure the timing is perfect again, so the dog doesn't cross under. You need to park your bike, great. You just unhook it from that bar, hook it to a leash, and now you're good to go. You don't need multiple pieces of equipment to safely ride with your dog. So that's a really awesome thing if biking with your dog is great. They make doggy backpacks now, so you can throw
Yeah.
the dog on your back. I will tell you from personal experience, that can be a little treacherous if you are not a very good bike rider.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my Frenchie is 14 pounds, and I put her in the backpack and I thought, oh, this will be a piece of cake. And I hop on the bicycle. 14 pounds is heavy to have on your back
Yeah.
on a mountain bike. And then we start out, well, as she shifts her weight, it totally shifted my weight. So now I'm rocking left and rocking right on 2 wheels And I'm like, this is going to end really badly.
Yeah, it can be
So
difficult. I'm sure it has
it
its own
can.
hazard.
Yes. So practice in grass.
Where you
But
can fall and not be hurt, the both
yes,
of you.
yes, yes. And again, in the summer months, you just like we talked about months before and in all of our training, you have to honor your dog. If your dog does not like gatherings, if your dog does not like loud noises, if your dog, really just prefers to sit on the couch with you, please honor that. Don't force your dog into doing the activities this summer that you want to do, because you have no idea,
Oh,
who's going to light off fireworks. You
yeah.
don't know who's bringing their dog that's not social, who's bringing their unvaccinated dog or their intact dog around your dog. So don't make the assumption that everybody's a good pet owner.
Yeah.
Actually make the opposite assumption,
Yeah.
and that will always keep your pet safe.
Because coming up are a lot of parties, are fireworks, and I think your tips about leaving your dog at home, maybe boarding them if you're going to go out or if you're going to have people over, that is a nice alternative, keeping them safe through the hazards of summer, which are fun for us.
Absolutely. We want to go out and have a good time. Are you really having a good time if you're having to constantly check in on your dog and keep tabs on your dog and correct your dog?
Yeah,
It takes away from your fun too. So just do right by your dog, and that will make everybody's summer much more enjoyable.
absolutely. Any final words?
Heat and short-nosed dogs do not mix.
Yes. And most of us don't know that yet. I've always had
No.
long-nosed dogs.
Yeah, I see some crazy stuff, and it worries me. But just honor your dog's needs, know the type of dog that you got and what it needs from you.
And thank you with all of these tips that some of us didn't know that we didn't know. I think we'll be able to have a great summer.
Absolutely, and don't shave your dog unless you need to.
Right on. Save yourself the cost and the hassle.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my goodness. I mean, bless those groomers, but whew, it gets to be an expensive bill. Yeah, I know. I just
Yeah.
saw a groomer do 3 schnauzers, and I was like,
Yeah.
that was half a day. But yeah, I mean, don't trim your dog unless you
Yeah.
need to. Um, it's important. Their fur
And
is important to them.
appreciate the groomers who say no to doing that.
Absolutely. They're not being rude. They're not being
Yeah.
judgy.
Yeah.
They're doing right by your dog.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to us talking again next month.
Fabulous. Well, we'll see you then.